Thank you so very much for joining me in the Gets Chamber podcast. This is God's boy Emmanuel, your host. I'm so excited to have you with me today. I would like to remind you to check out our Facebook page and our YouTube channel. Search out the Guest Chamber podcast on those platforms. And we admonish you to subscribe, follow, like, and leave comments there for us. We will be very glad to have you there. Today we are going to read from the book of Matthew, chapter 26, verse 33 to 46, and verse 50 to 52. We have a long read today, but it's important that we go through it. It's Matthew, chapter 26, verse 33 to 46, and verse 50 to 52. And I'll read from the New International Version. Once again, Matthew 26, 33 to 46, and 50 to verse 52. And I read, Peter replied, "Even if all fall away on account of you, I never will." "Truly I tell you," Jesus answered, "this very night, before the rooster crows, you will disown me 3 times. But Peter declared, "Even if I have to die with you, I will never disown you." And all other disciples said the same. Then Jesus went with his disciples to the place called Gethsemane, and he said to them, "Sit here while I go over there and pray." He took Peter and the 2 sons of Zebedee along with him, and he began to be sorrowful and troubled. Then he said to them, "My soul is overwhelmed with sorrow to the point of death. Stay here and keep watch with me." Going a little farther, he fell with his face to the ground and prayed, "My Father, if it is possible, may this cup be taken from me. Yet not as I will, but as you will." Then he returned to his disciples and found them sleeping. "Couldn't you men keep watch with me for 1 hour?" He asked Peter. "Watch and pray so that you will not fall into temptation. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak." He went away a second time and prayed, "My Father, if it is not possible for this cup to be taken away unless I drink it, may your will be done." When he came back again, he found them sleeping because their eyes were heavy. So he left them and went away once more and prayed the 3rd time, saying the same thing. Then he returned to the disciples and said to them, "Are you still sleeping and resting? Look, the hour has come, and the Son of Man is delivered into the hands of sinners. Rise, let us go. Here comes my betrayer." Verse 50. Jesus replied, "Do what you came for, friend." Then the men stepped forward, seized Jesus, and arrested him. With that, one of Jesus' companions reached for his sword, drew it out, and struck the servant of the high priest, cutting off his hair. "Put your sword back in its place," Jesus said to him, "for all who draw the sword will die by the sword." What an amazing story and encounter Jesus had with his disciples just before his arrest. And today in the chamber we will discuss the topic, put the sword in its place. Put the sword in its place. Now we see in the beginning of that reading how Peter and all the apostles vowed that they will never deny Jesus. In fact, that they were ready to die with Jesus. They wished it. They were certain that if push comes to shove, they were going to stand with Jesus. But they did not do the preparations that were necessary to bring those assertions to pass. It's just not enough for you to wish something in the spirit. It's not enough for you to say some things boldly without making the necessary preparations for it. It was one great man of God that have said prayerful preparations prevents poor performance. To overcome temptations, you must prepare for it. But a lot of Christians don't make the necessary preparation for that victory, for the manifestations of those bold assertions. Jesus knew that his time was coming, and he took them to the garden of Gethsemane up there in the Mount of Olives to prepare. He himself prepared for it, and he wanted his disciples to prepare for it. And especially he chose Peter and the two sons of Zebedee, James and John, with him to even go further so that they can prepare in the spirit as close friends. Remember, the sons of Zebedee were the ones asking to sit at Jesus' right hand and left hand in the kingdom, but they were not ready to make the preparations necessary. Now Jesus left them there. Pray with me for 1 hour. Pray with me. He came back and found them sleeping, and he admonished them. Watch and pray that you do not fall into temptations. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. Their eyes were heavy. What that tells me, folks, is that heavy eyes is not an excuse not to pray. Even if your eyes are heavy, you can still force yourself to pray. Jesus knew that their eyes were heavy, but he was still requesting them to pray. In other words, you can propel yourself in the spirit mechanically until the spirits take over by giving you strength. Folks, if you must not deny Jesus in future, if you must not fail temptations in the future, you need the preparation in Gethsemane to be able to overcome it. Without that preparations in prayer, you are bound to fail. For by the arm of flesh shall no man prevail. And I don't even have the time to go into details in this aspect. I want to concentrate on Peter. When Jesus came face to face with those that were to arrest him, Peter drew out his sword and he struck the servant, the slave of the high priest. His name is Malchus, and cut off his hair. But Jesus placed the hair back and he told Peter, put the sword in its place. There is a place for the sword. Folks, there is also a place for prayers. Spiritual wars are not physically soluble. Spiritual wars are not fought in the flesh. Spiritual wars cannot be fought by the sword. So put the sword in its place, but put prayer in its place. Put the word of God in its place. Put spiritual preparations in its place. On the Mount of Olives, in the Garden of Gethsemane, that was the place for this war to have been fought in the spirit. But because Peter did not make that preparations, he was sleeping at the time that he was supposed to be praying. He not only denied Jesus, he swore by the third time that he never knew him. He ran away, and so all the other disciples. Folks, prayerful preparations prevent poor performance. You cannot solve spiritual problems by wishing them, by merely stating them, by desiring them. Desire is not a sufficient condition for spiritual victory. Prayers is a necessary condition for preparation for victory. And Jesus put back the hair of Malchus on his head and told Peter, put the sword in its place. My admonition to you today is don't attempt to fight spiritual wars with physical swords. It is an error that you are going to make, and you cannot win the devil like that. Make sure that you make your preparations in the garden. Prepare spiritually, and you will gain the victory physically. I admonish you to read all of the Gospels and see the different accounts of this encounter. It will tear your imagination open. Fight in the spirit, and you will overcome both in the spirit and in the flesh.